It is May 13th. This is the CEO Barbecue. My name is Antonio, and today I'm going to New Brunswick, where I'll be talking to Marcel, the CEO of Puma Exploration. Now, this is going to be a long one, so feel free to use the timestamps provided in the description and on the time bar of this video to better navigate it. Before we get into it, though, I would like to warn you that we have not received monetary compensation for the production of this video from the company that's being interviewed. Please understand that this channel is a business that sells content producing services to companies, which means you cannot rely on this video for research, and you should treat this as an advertisement instead. Research is conducted by reading the company's official filings, which you can find on setterplus.ca. Please only watch this if you know what you're doing. This interview is intended only for experienced junior mining speculators because mineral exploration, development, and mining is a very tough business where failure is the norm. This is going to be a conversation that is general and impersonal in nature, containing forward-looking statements. I am not a licensed financial advisor, so before continuing on, please talk to an investment advisor with a good long-term track record because your capital is at risk, and I am neither a licensed financial advisor nor do I have a good long-term track record. If you're not 100% sure you understand 100% of the disclaimers I just showed you and told you about, please go to the last section of this video and do not consume this content unless you fully understand and agree with everything said therein. That all said, Puma Exploration is listed as, Puma, so Puma on the TSXV in Canada, where over the last 3 months, an average of about 60,000 shares have traded daily. The stock's 52-week high is 11 cents, and its 52-week low is 5 cents. With a market cap of 13.5 million Canadian dollars and 180 million shares outstanding, today this is a 7.5 cent stock, with a 50 and a 200-day moving averages at respectively 8 and 7.5 cents. Now I see 11.3 million options at an average of 14 cents and almost 30 million warrants at an average of 19 cents, resulting in about 220 million fully diluted shares, which could mean an increase of about 23% in shares outstanding if all dilutive securities get exercised, which would then also result in about an 18.5% ownership dilution if, and that is always a big if, but if all dilutive securities get exercised. There are a couple of names on their share registry that you might recognize, which you're probably looking at right now, and that's Kinross and Crescat Capital at respectively a 9 and a 5% ownership, whereas insiders are noted at about a 7% ownership, which also means that 4/5 or about 80% of this company is in the hands of supposed retail investors. And moving on, I'll be looking at their financial statement, the latest of which shows us the numbers as of November 30, 2024. The asset side of the balance sheet at the time held just about $650,000 in current assets, of which $400,000 was in cash and cash equivalents. Although it is worth noting that since the effective date on this financial statement and at the end of last year, Puma has raised some capital, closing a $668,000 financing on Christmas Eve, actually. Back to the balance sheet of the end of November, though, the liability side had in total about $600,000 on it, mostly in the form of account payables to the tune of about $400,000, whereas the remaining $200,000 or so were not really debt. They're a flow-through share premium liability and a provision for restoration fees. Moving on to the P&L for the 9 months that ended on November 30, Puma recorded just over $1 million in total administrative expenses, which would then put them at about an average of $117,000 a month. It is worth noting, though, that this does include some non-cash expenses, like about $182,000 worth of share-based compensation, as well as some depreciation costs. So let's call it $200,000 in total of the $1 million is not actually an out-of-pocket expense, which would bring their average monthly G&A down to about $96,000 a month. Marketing and investor relations were about 40% of that spend, or almost $350,000 for that 9-month period, whereas professional services and salaries costed about $370,000 for the period, also about 40 or 43% of the overall spend, which leaves us with about 17%, which was spent on what I call lab, but that's not the kind of lab. It is what I call lawyers, accountants, and bankers. As to the exploration expenses, those get capitalized here. So it's note 9 that provides more insight into that. And I see total additions for the period came up to, and I'm rounding down here, but $1.7 million, or an average of about $190,000. There's a bit of a breakdown, but not it's not as clear as I typically like it to be in these financial statements. So I'd suggest you visit setterplus.ca yourself to make sure you fully understand how this company spends money. All in all, as a summary, about 1.7 million on exploration activities and about $800,000 on administrative activities leaves us with about $2.5 million total spent, which means that roughly 32% of the money that was spent on administration and the 68% on exploration. Moving on to a very brief summary of the company here. Puma is a bit of a hybrid, if you will, a hybrid project generator who also does its own exploration work, and they're focused on what they call Arctic Canada and now specifically New Brunswick and the Williams Brook project, which is currently optioned to Kinross, although Puma operates it. And it's almost $17 million over 5 years that Kinross deal is worth. We'll talk about that later on. And additionally, there's now it's a new project. It's the McKenzie Gold project, which we'll also talk about later. And there are also other projects and aspects of the business, which will hopefully be part of the discussion later today as well. But for that discussion to actually start happening, I might have to shut up already and Marcel give you the word. But first of all, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you very much, Antonio. I really appreciate it. And that would be really good for me as well that you can send me all the information about the ratio, about exploration and management and all that, because even if we provide those financial statements, it's always good to have a double check on that information. You pretty did a good summary of it. So thank you very much I really appreciate to be here today. Thank you.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, of course. Well, I typically do two ratios. So I do the administration to exploration ratio, and then I do the drilling to marketing ratio, essentially. So those are two ratios that I like looking at to better understand how companies spend money. But again, this is your first time on the CEO Barbecue, and we have.
Yeah.
We have the obligatory, what I call smell test that we have to go through first. Starting off with yourself. Talk to me about yourself. Who are you? Why do you think you're the right man for the job?
Yes, thank you very much. First, I just want to mention that I have a background of geologist as well. So I have a back and master in earth science as a geologist. I start my career right there in New Brunswick on the Appalachian rocks. At the time, I was working with Noranda. So before they've been bought out by different major company. So my first work was in Murdochville for a big like Gaspé mine exploration for porphyry and skarn deposit. But starting my career in Appalachian rock, so I've always looking for a sedimentary rock a little bit younger than what we used to look gold for. It is a greenfield, like a greenstone belt in Abitibi. So it's really been there. I've been named a geologist, project manager, and then I move in Rimouski because even if we're working in New Brunswick, our head office is in Rimouski. So it's right, along the St. Lawrence River. It's only about 3 hours drive on paved road from the site, which is big advantage for us. But also why we've been in Rimouski is because we can go also on the north shore of the St. Lawrence River. So it's a really nice access. So we've been located in Rimouski. And for the one that they really like hockey, we're in the finals in the junior hockey. We have the Oceanic right there, and there's the Memorial Cup this year. So it's really a nice town, a really small town. We're just, as I said, 3 hours drive away from the site. So I've been living here for the last 25 years. It's about the same time that we've been looking and working in New Brunswick. So be named as the CEO of the company in 2009. So since 2009, I'm running the company. So I have, half of my heart is directed on rocks, and I really like the play. Like, when I'm talking to my VP exploration technical team, I can put my insight, but also I really like manage the company and do some marketing and promoting and tell the story. So it's the perfect match for me right now. So we've been working in that area. I know well New Brunswick, and this is what could be a really nice thing about Puma is we've been there for 20 years. For the one that they don't really know, New Brunswick is really on the Atlantic province of Canada. It's really small places. It's about only 1 million people. So I know everybody there. It's really easy for me to meet, let's say, the premier or, the minister of the energy and mine. We can have lunch with them because that's really small places that they are really proactive. For myself, geologist background, running the company since 2009. And now, I'm having a really nice board of director, a mix of people working with me as well. Most of them has also technical skills. Like my chairman, Régent Gosselin, he's been with us since 2021. He's a geologist as well, wells when we're talking about the project. We also have people that they are more knowledgeable with the First Nations. So we have really nice people. Jacques Dion used to be with the company for a green, the Continuation company. Now is no wells. If we're talking about mine closure, different things like that. Mia Boaridi just joined the board. She used to be my corporate development ER for the last few years. In October this year, she's been named CEO of the company. So this is basically it. Rick Thibault is used to be as well. He's retired now. He's living in Brunswick. He used to be a CEO of different major minor exploration junior company. So we're mostly really back from technical side, people that he knows how. And also like Rick Thibault, he used to be managing mines with up to 5,000 people. So, we have all the skills mainly on technical side. I don't have anybody on legal side, and I don't really have neither people on the financial side. So that's something that Puma is looking and try to, if I had to add a little bit more to my board, would be for sure financial people that they have contact with, a little bit more like wealthy people. So basically, that's Puma itself. As I said, really nice located, paved road to the access, so I can be there in the morning, spend the day there, come back, get my kids back from school. It's really, really easy, and it's really great to be working here.
Loads to touch upon there, and we'll definitely talk about the location of the project as well as New Brunswick a little bit more in depth later on. I do see that you've held multiple director positions over your career as recently as and that you do currently hold a couple of director positions.
Yeah.
Like in February of this year, you've also taken a new position as director of Windfall Geotech, and I know that you're on the board on Melius as well as Canadian Copper. I've spoken to Simon as well since 2021. I believe you've been a director there. What else
Yeah.
is in there though? What other positions do you currently hold?
I have, as I said, this is mainly board member, director of Windfall recently because Michel Fontaine, that is doing kind of a revamping a little bit the company, asked me to join because it's intelligence artificial, which is, I think, really important on the mining exploration right now. And he helped me at the time with Puma. So now I'm joining as a background of geologist. So, like all the targeting tools like his always has to be back from technical people that it's not just a target itself. I mean, the target is coming to a general, context, so a model. So I can help him on that side. I used to be, and I am a director of CCI, Canadian Copper, as you said, mainly because what we did, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier in the talk, Puma is a little bit different than the normal and standard explorer, junior explorer. We like to do our own exploration, but also we would like to try to return investment and return money to my investor in different ways. And that's exactly what we did back in 2020, 21, when we had some copper project, copper and zinc project in New Brunswick. And after the major gold discovery done in Newfoundland, we decided to spin up the copper play to Melius first, then it became Canadian Copper. So Canadian Copper is it's not a subsidiary because they do their own stuff. As you said, Simon Quick run wells the company, but it's all based and from copper project that Puma holds at the time. So currently Puma hold about like 8.5% of the company, roughly 10 million shares. And, I knew and I saw different good news. I saw one this morning that the Canadian Copper should release a PEA by the end of the month. So we're pretty excited about what is there. So instead of trying to always do Puma by itself and do the exploration, we cannot do 24 project and get success on everything. So the difference is we try to do different companies and have their own management because I don't want to be management for 10 different companies. It doesn't make sense. My
Yeah.
own energy is on Puma, but I'm working to be a director. So that's the reason why I'm director of Puma. Peasant as well is a company that they were looking for probably having an hydrogen deals. I've been with them probably since 2009. I don't remember exactly. And this is, I think, the board that I'm currently. Oh, so basically, people ask me for my, I think, my knowledge about mining stock, but mainly about the stock exchange, how to rules, different,
Mhm.
acquire project, different things like that. But my background geologist is what I think they like more with
Mm.
me.
But it's mostly or only board positions. Like you don't have any executive. You're not CEO of other companies.
No, 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 that all. No, no, that all.
Okay.
But basically, there's a company named Brook Minerals, which is a private company held 100% by Puma. So I'm a director and a CEO of the company, but
Mm.
that is still pretty like dormant company. We might do something similar to Canadian Copper with that Brook Minerals company, but so far, it doesn't take me any time. So I'm CEO. My full duty is on Puma, and I try to do the best I can to generate, excitement, to manage the company, and having great idea so far. And I think this is one thing that different us as well. We're really located and focused in New Brunswick. So I don't look, to do some other deals for sure elsewhere in Canada or even like elsewhere in the world. We're really focused in New Brunswick, and that's what the main goal of Puma Exploration is. So if I have some other play could be interesting, we will probably do other company or something like this, but Puma will be always the mother company. But below that company, we can have ownership or holding a different company. Yes.
I appreciate the management and the team background here as well. I want to move on from that and talk a little bit about insider incentives. Insider
Yeah.
ownership, as I mentioned in the overview, is about 7%. How much of that is you personally? How many shares do you own?
I have about myself 2.5 million shares. My biggest holders as an insider is my VP Exploration. So my VP Exploration, Dominic Gagne, all about like 7 million shares. So me and him are probably the biggest holder as an insider. The other one is Mia Boaridzi with roughly 1 million shares, Régent Gosselin as well with 1 million shares. But as you understand, other people need to be without shares because we need an independent director. So there's people like Rick Thibault has probably 100,000 share, but it's like this, I don't want that there's too much people with big position because this way they lose their independency and we need it for the stock exchange. So
Right.
basically it's me and Dominic, but Dominic is by far the biggest shareholder, which is good for me because if my VP Exploration is one of my biggest holder, that's bring me confidence about his belief on the program and the play that we have
Mm.
out there.
What does your VP? What does a VP have more shares than a CEO though? How does that make sense?
Oh, because I don't get paid so much. So, that's really it. I don't have, it's always just about money. I mean, you can buy shares in the open market. That's what he does in the open market or into the, some private placement. But just, my only investment is Puma Exploration, but I'm not, really, really rich people. I used to be geologist all the time. So
Mm.
almost every pay that I buy some shares, but I cannot see why he has, access to capital neither. I
Mm.
mean, he's he's a big confidence for me, but I don't have any answer to be honest with you, the reason why.
You say you're not really rich, but that shirt that you're wearing could have fooled me. Um, with but the shares that you bought in the open market and financings, is that all of your shares, or have you gotten founder shares as well?
No, no, it's all but I have only been buying shares in the open market and also on the some private placement, but
Mm,
mainly on the open market. I didn't get any funders because even if I was there in 2003 when we listed the company, at the time I was geologist. So
mm,
since that time, I just acquired the shares. Basically, I have also probably another idea. In 2019, Puma did a rollback, 10 for 1. So before the rollback, I had 10 million shares at a cost of 10 cents. So after the rollback, I came up with a 1 million share with a cost of $1. So from 1 million share to 2.5, I've been acquiring another 1.5 in the open market. So really my cost is about 60 cents, 55
mm.
cents to 60 cents. So, I want the Puma stock price go back there. So I'm working hard to not have to, do some write-off on it. But I'm pretty confident that the market will be one of the first to really, lift and go to that price. So
Mm.
basically, as I said, always buying in the open market or private placement. No gift, no bonuses, nothing else. Then work hard and try to do. Beside grocery, rent, I have a bit of room for some shares, but not so much. Yeah.
That's no, I do see on the SEDI filings that you've been buying throughout last year. Is that something you'll keep doing? Do you plan on to keep putting money into Puma?
Yes, but recently I have not. And if you can see the insider trading, there's always rule that there's some what we call blackout period that,
Yep.
we cannot, negotiate or buy shares. And if you see in some gap last year was prior the deal with Kinross. So I cannot say anything for the reason this time, but, I'm not buying shares since probably last month.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
See, but
Yeah.
but I can see indeed the SEDI filings here. Staying on the topic of insider incentive, Marcel, do you or any of your colleagues personally own a royalty on any of the projects?
No, 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 not really. The only thing that we have is option. I know that in May 8th of May we have some that they have been expiring. We just get some in the previous news release out. We got a little bit of option. So the option is the only way to not pay but reward some work from the team, but there's no royalty, there's nothing else. We do not have any other insensitive. No.
Hmm. How is an options package determined here, or just executive compensation in general? How is that structured? What are your KPIs? Are they tied to share price performance, or discoveries, or deals, or what do you judge performance based on?
There's a compensation committee. So first, I want to mention that I don't want to be involved. For sure, I have my last word to say yes or no at the end of the day. But there's, the compensation committee are made by the chairman, Régent Gosselin, and also with Michel Fontaine. So they look, it's to be honest, we do it like once in a while, but there's nothing based on a new discovery. For sure, it's forbidden to give us option before any good news or bad
Of course.
news because there's period that you cannot do it. So basically it's roughly when we do some board meetings, and maybe 1 or 2 times a year only we give option, and the option are based on a little bit of the support from the team. So they are on base to, let's say there's some director like Mia Boaridzi, as she is already been paid for ER and corporate. So when people are paid in cash, so they have a bit less option. Also, it's about the people that they've met, about the return to the company. So there's no fixed term, there's no fixed rule. It's about what the people have been brought. Let's say there's a director that they introduce me, a big potential shareholders, but at the end of the year, we see the potential of return to Puma. So that's basically made on that. And also the people that they are available on the board meetings. Have you been there like one for 10 meetings, or you've been there for the 10 meetings, different things like that. So
Sure.
basically, this is the way we recompense the
Yep.
people. I don't
Makes
think
sense. And then
repurpose
that
it's a
about
word, but sorry about that. Probably I've noticed that sometimes I find new word in English because it's not my first language. So
well,
you might
well,
have a translation just below me and write the right word at the end if you need
no,
it.
it's I understand everything perfectly, and English is obviously not my first language either, so it's there's absolutely nothing to worry about that either. But well, that about does it for the initial, as I said, smell test for me. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the company, which seems to have been around for a while, again, a little over
Okay.
20 years now. Um, but I want to talk about specifically the last 5 years that are of interest to me because there's been a rather interesting round trip, if you will, in your stock price. It went from 6 cents in 2020 to over 60 cents in 2021, now back down to that same range. What has happened in those 5 years? What work did you complete, and why has the market reacted to it that way?
First, back in we did some work back, let's say in the 19, just before 2019. As I said a little bit earlier, we're mostly a base metal copper explorer. So we've been working to explore for copper. And back in 2019, that's when we did the rollback. There's big gold discovery made in Newfoundland. So, Labrador Gold, but many Newfound Gold and some other people, they were really active. But the thing is, as we've been in New Brunswick for, as you said, 20 years, we knew there's a potential there. But because the Bathurst camp always been looking people, explorer and major company were looking and mine for base metal, nobody really care about the gold side of the story. And just outside the Bathurst camp where we had our Williams Brook play, there were some good, very high-grade vein, but peoples at the time thought that was something like just exceptional, and it was used not to be found there. But when you look, this is the same age, the Appalachian rock, same kind of structural feature, gold mineralization. So if we go back at those years, we had the prospector that he called me because we know each other like a lot. I know all the prospector there. That's why, we will keep working in New Brunswick because we're kind of friend. And also the northern part of New Brunswick is French as well. So there's a better connection there. So there's a prospector that they called me and said, I have a block that they grade like 50 grams gold. Would you like to have a look? So I said, yes, for sure. So I've sent my technical team. Dominic Gagne was there, and we looked the project, and we find one block of quartz vein grading 50 grams gold just along the stream. So we said that could be a good start. So we start working on that. So 2020, we did the acquisition, first work, trenching, stripping, and in 2021, that's where we hit, the big intercept. That's what, put Pumas on the map at the time. But we did some really early stage work. It's really interesting, and I'm really proud of my technical team because it's not like a whole deposit that everybody knows, been working and they changed name 3, 4, 6 times. It's all a brand new discovery found along a cliff, along a stream. Then we did all the real work. So boots on ground, geophysical survey, trenching. And the beauty of New Brunswick, there's only about 1 meters of overburden, or what we call the gravel over the rock. So instead of always drilling, what we really like and what we call our low-cost exploration technique is really to do the trenching. We can strip, and we have the 2 feet on the ground. We see the rock. And then once we have the assays in hand, we know where's the gold, then we drill. So the second hole in 2021, we hit 5 grams or 5.5 grams over 50 meters right from surface. So that hole, awake the market. And to be honest with you, 2021 was almost the end of a good like bull market for gold. So the stock went from 6-7 cents up to, I think, was 64 57 cents. So we did that major discovery. The stock went up, and then we've been able to raise $5 million at 50 cents. So we invest about $12 million on the Williams Brook, but over the $12 million, there's at least $5 million raised at 50 cents. So we've been able to keep, dilution a little bit lower because of that. But the thing is, when you do that major gold discovery. It's really crazy. That's good. My VP exploration is about 6'2", and he was crying. You just to let you know that sometimes it's happened once in a lifetime. You know what it is because it was the best drill hole in the Canada for that week. But then that brought you expectation. So everybody now, want better holes, better holes, better holes. Even if we come with very, very significant, like up to 3, 4 meters of 30 grams, something like this, everybody says, oh, not everybody, but I think the market feel like, that was one hole, but we did major hole since then. So if we're looking, so we have raised that $5 million. We did 12,000 meters of drilling in the last drilling program, 2023, in the Lynx Gold Zone, which is the biggest
Yep.
discovery. We drilled that 24 holes, 12 of them hit visible gold with really, really nice result. So that's a bit the reason why Kinross, have called us at the time. I remember at the PDAC 2023, we had about 6 major company that they wanted to do, confidential agreement with us. They went on site at data room, and at the end of 2024, in October 24, that's where we got the option signed with Kinross Gold, which we really, really like. So more than just spending the money on the site, for sure, we have a good relationship with them. We want to learn as well from a major company that they are already producing mine. What is the threshold? What kind of assays that you're doing? To have a better idea. So that's what we're doing. It's really a partnership. As you said, we're manager, we're operator, so we have management fee that bring a little bit of cash in the treasury because this year, it's about 10% on the first $1 million invest and another 5. So this year they are committed to a $2 million program. So that means about $150,000 hard cash coming to my treasury. So which is good. Plus they took about a 9.9 stake in the company. So they now are a big major company following the Puma. We just has started the field work about 2 weeks ago. The backhoe excavators on site. Everything is really, really nice. So basically, we've been working on, Williams Brook for the last 4 years. When we were so close to get the Kinross deal done, because you could understand that it's a long process. So, we've met in January and then we re-met in March. Then they went on site in May. We start talking and negotiating July, August, and September, and we finally signed the deal in October. But once we were almost at the last miles of the deal, then we acquired the McKenzie Gold project because we do not want to be only a partner with Kinross. We want to do our own exploration, our own, work to us on the project to have blue sky potential.
Yeah.
So we already knew that project there, but as I said earlier, we cannot do everything. I don't have access to $25 million capital to raise every year, so we need to select the one. So we already has an eyes on it, but we didn't have done any move up to this year. We closed the deal in January, and now we're doing the compilation. So very high grade vein, similar, but people think, oh, we should be drilling that vein right away. No, because it's not what we've done to Williams Brook, and it's not what we're going to do. We want to understand. We need to know exactly where's the vein, how they are directed. So that was done a little bit the compilation during the winter time. Summer is back now. We're going to bring the backhoe, understand the veins, and we'll be drilling those veins during the fall.
Hmm.
So, that is a little bit that. But for my story itself, on my history, since 2021, so I did the spin-off of copper. So we always try to do other stuff. It's not always what we can see on site, but I'm trying to do other stuff. We did a deal with Raptor Resources, an Australian company. So we modified the deal with Canadian Copper. We signed that deal last year. We have received a first $500,000 cash Australian in the treasury. We have 4 million shares, and they have another payment of 375,000 by June. So in June this year, at the end of June this year, we're expecting to have another $375,000 Australian, plus another 375,000 value in shares of Raptor. So you see a little bit what we call the DEER strategy has been really implemented about 4 years ago. Discovery, exploration, acquisition, and royalty. So this is a little bit what we try to do. And if we have the ability to bring another company on the stock exchange, the same way will be done. Dividend shares to my shareholder. That's what I did with Canadian Copper. I dividend the share to my shareholder so they have a return on their investment. I'm not running the company. Simon Quick doing the running the show. And finger crossed, if they are really, really successful and they bring the stock to 50 cents or 60 cents, that means 5, 6 million in my treasury, to decide what to do with. So I'm trying always to avoid always my own dilution in Puma stock.
Marcel, you bring up an interesting point here, which is, or you're touching upon it here, but the history of the asset is always important or interesting to me, specifically with your large position in New Brunswick, which is, in 2025, whenever I see a company having a large land position or a position that is that large in an established jurisdiction, I always wonder, how come? I mean, if it's that good of an asset, why did nobody snap it up before you? Why did previous owners let it go? I know some of the stuff that you hold has been explored in 2008 and so on. So talk to me about that. If it's that good, why do you have it?
Uh, First, as I said, we're always looking in Brunswick, so it's not people, others' jurisdiction. And if we're talking about just the story of New Brunswick a little bit, if we're talking about the biggest underground zinc mine there was the Brunswick 12 mine. So Brunswick 12 mine is a zinc mine, used to be the biggest underground zinc mine in the world, has been running since the 56 and they close up, I think, in 2013. So when you have a big elephant like this, Noranda at the time held about 80% of the claim. So when a major company hold about 80% of all the claim, they don't do work everywhere because they just keep the ground and they have the money to pay the claim. So it's like having, no access to the batter's camp. So that has been said for that base metal side of it. But for the gold side, because the batter's camp, at the edge of the batter's camp, that is where we find the gold, but nobody really understand there were a potential for gold up to the time other discovery somewhere else. Because as you said, the prospector collect the grab sample in 2008. They called us just in 2019 because of the discovery. So it's always like this, nobody really thought the potential of that area. First, because there were no major company in the past. It's not like an established camp for gold. The first major gold company is Kinross, brought by an option signed by us. So, nobody really understand the potential of gold there before the discovery of newfound gold in Newfoundland. So, we've been really lucky. But at the time, I did the deal because there were about 8 different prospectors that they had little piece, little piece, little piece. So I'm really passionate. So I've been able to make deals with about 8 different prospectors that they hold different projects. So nobody really tried to consolidate the entire area as I have now, but Puma. So I've been able to put all those little pieces together to make a major one. I didn't say that nobody else could do it, but I've done it. So that's fine. So what happened? It's funny because you're totally right. When we made that discovery of 2021, I could not get all the claim I want because I didn't have all the cash I want to do the spending everywhere. So I select what I thought was best. And at that time, when you have that major gold discovery, there's prospector that they came. I call them the proximite. So the proximite are people that they are just looking around and try to stake some claim that they are beside a major discovery. So, but the funny thing in New Brunswick, I don't know how it is somewhere else in the world, but in New Brunswick, the mining rules, the law, when you acquire new claim, you have 2 years to do the work and spend certain amount of exploration. You pay the license, the fee is about $10 a claim, which is nothing, but then you have to do about $500 a claim per year, but they are good for 2 years. So it's funny because there's a lot of people stake claim in 2021, 22, where, they saw our discovery. So I just waited. I waited because I knew those prospectors would not do any work. So those work collapsed. the claim collapse, I mean, and then I've been able to restate things, and I've been able to do a deal with McKenzie as well. But as I said, it's all because we've been there for 20 years. So I know what a prospector. If there's something good, there's a prospector that they call me. Would you like to look at it? So I think we've been honest with those prospectors. We have invested about roughly $1 million for the last 20 years there. So they know, the prospector knows that if we do a deal with Puma, it's not like just having a deal and not do any work, because for them, what they want is us bring the project to another level. So that's my guess feeling. But to answer a bit more your question, since we've signed a deal with Kinross, we saw more claims take. We saw major company in the area. There's Magnaterra that they are now some claims there. Fan Camp acquire some other claim. So, but for me, it's good because I cannot do everything everywhere. So I prefer 10 times more to have people working, make some discovery, bring that camp, what we call building a new camp, to the next level to bring new highs. Because if I'm talking about investor from Vancouver, to be honest, they don't even know where's New Brunswick. So, we're a bit back. It's not like going to the Abitibi Belt or, Red Lake area, some other space that there's famous for gold exploration. New Brunswick is not there yet. But now with Kinross in, spending 17 million over 5 years, finger crossed, we're going to make great discovery together. I think that's going to come as it should be for gold exploration.
Hmm. That's a very good summary that you're giving me here, and we've talked about kind of how much money you spend on these assets over the years. I also want to move on from here and talk about how you hope to make money on them in the meantime. And I can see you call your business strategy here. You call it DEAR, as in DEAR, so discovery, exploration, acquisition, and then royalties. But walk me through what that looks like exactly in reality. Maybe just give me an example of, again, you've been doing this for over 20 years. How has this made shareholders money in the past specifically, and how do you hope it's going to make them money in the future?
First, that strategy was not established since 20 years.
Okay.
It has been really established since 2019 when we did the rollback and we redirected a bit the company. For the first maybe 15 years was really, really a regular junior exploration company. We're private placement, doing some work, hoping to make a major discovery that bring the stock at a higher level, and then raise more money to, do work. That was a bit the case of it. So when we decided to move strategy was 2019, and it was basically about, the gold side of it. And we say how we can return some money to our shareholders, or try to avoid dilution. So the first idea was to spin off the copper play that was on the shelf. So those play had about a $3.5 million value in the book. So not really, so that's just a book value. So about the exploration expense. So we've been able to cut a deal with First Milius, now is CCI. So one way is when we list the company, we have returned 20 shares for one. So every 20 shares that people held of Puma get one new shares of Canadian Copper. So first, they have already some shares back. So, for sure it's 20 for 1. It's not so big, but people, it's a gift. That's not a gift, but they had to have those shares. So first is to send them. So it was not really a dividend, it was a return in capital. So they didn't have to pay any tax on it. It was really to lower their share price, acquisition price of Puma. So one way is to return some shares of the spin-off to the company. So we did it in Canadian Copper. Now Canadian Copper, they went from a company that they had value in the book to now they have about what, $11 million market cap, something like this. I think they have 100 and maybe more, $16 million market cap. So that's a little bit the way we did. One way is to get that. The other way is to get royalties. So we do the exploration, and we always have an idea, a threshold about where we stop exploring and have some return. So sometime to me, in a way, in the management discussion is, if we invest $50 million in exploration, are we going to get back that 50 million? There's a sweet spot that after some work, you have to stop and try to sell the project. That's a little bit, each project is different because there are different targets, there's different price. But, if you spend or invest 2, 3 million in exploration, are you found enough good thing to do something with it, or this is a bit the decision we always have to do. So sometimes we do deals with other company and we keep some NSR. So what we did with Raptor Resources, we have NSR on some other deals. So basically we can generate cash if they find a mine, so that's another way to bring cash. But also when we do the spin-off, like CCI or Raptor, we have also access to the value of their shares in my book. But I'm the biggest shareholders of Canadian Copper. We are friend, me and Simon Quick. My goal is not to sell those shares. I want to be really successful. For sure that if Simon Quick called me and said, "Hey Marcel, I have a big investor that they would like to acquire 1 million share. Could you do a trade?" Yes, I will consider it. But for now, I think there's a big upside on Canadian Copper shares, and we're not thinking that all to sell any shares. So basically, if an example, if Canadian Copper get taken over by another company, that will bring, let's say, I just threw a number here, you can put your own, let's say 50 cents. So they've been taking over at 50 cents, that bring $5 million in my treasury. So that's $5 million a return. It's not a direct return to my shareholder, but that's a return anyway, because that money, I won't have to raise the money to dilute the company, and I'm going to use that to explore my home play. So basically is doing it. So I won't hide that since we cut a deal with Kinross, that's one of the big examples. So first, they do the exploration. I'm going to keep 35% of, a potential mine. If there's a mine there, I have a 10 to 5% management fee. So once again, that brings some money in my treasury that I don't have to invest. And just that first year, let's say this year, the Kinross commit for a $2 million investment. So if I had to raise that money at 6 cents, as I did the last one, I would bring a lot dilution in. So, I prefer to dilute the asset level than the share itself. So, but having them aboard, that's great, because I know that Crescat Capital acquire more share following the acquisition of 10% by Kinross Gold. Yeah. So that's a
Well,
bit, and we'd like to do the exploration as well. As I said, now we're having that McKenzie goal. We don't know yet what we're going to do. First is to make discovery. Right now, that McKenzie goal, even if a major company called me to do a deal, it's too early, because, sometime, most of the time when you do a deal with a major company, an option or something like this, they always evaluate the amount of money that you invest in it. So right now, there's not even like $100,000 invest by true money by Puma on that deal. So even if I want to sell that, it's impossible. Just an example for the Kinross option, we have invest about $12 million in exploration. This is the real money invested by the company in exploration, but they put about roughly 17 million over 5 years for 65% ownership. So that was possible because of the amount of work done. So that's, again, for sure, everything is for sale at the right price, but always wanted to make sure we try to do the best discovery on the project before make a decision on it. But as I said earlier, we have other play. I'm always working on something, and we have other ideas. We have the zinc and base metal with CCI. I'm looking maybe to do another potential spin-off for critical minerals. So to have other stuff, but it won't be in Puma names. It will be Puma ownership on it if it's happening, and we're going to do the same models potential than Canadian Copper.
Marcel, it's interesting to me listening to your business strategy essentially here, specifically because of that discovery that you said that attracted Kinross here. Because now that you have this kind of a project, why not change that strategy and then raise a bunch of money and just Swiss cheese the project essentially?
Oh, that's another option. We can do it. But when I'm talking with my major shareholders, they don't really like it neither, because if you first, you let's say that I want to raise, let's say now we have about, let's say, 12,000 meters of drilling. If I want to really do a 50,000 meters, drilling, which is nothing. If we compare some other company that they drill 200,000 meters, I've seen some numbers that Newfound Gold that they have almost 1,000,000 meters of drilling. Do you have the return on it? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. That's the strategy that we have in house. Say once we're at one stage, we stop diluting and try to do other stuff. So we could do it, but the strategy we decide to not do it and just dilution, dilution, dilution to drill. When the market is good and when the market to me is, listen the discovery, then it make me possible. But what called me a little bit about that strategy is when we released in 2023. As I said, we drilled 24 holes, 12 of those hit visible gold, many really great intercept of 10 to 15 grams, really of for like 10 meters. We get, I think, 3 grams over 30 meters. Really something significant for a nice discovery. The market was old. Nothing move on new discovery. So to me, drill to try to attract investor, get more result, but there's no return on it. I don't see it. So I prefer to do something as a deal with Kinross. That's what we did. We decided to do a deal with Kinross. So this way they invest the money. And to be honest, they might be smarter than me to find the gold deposit. I mean, they've been there for a round. They have a specialist. They have expert in 3D modeling. They have their own recipe, and they have been successful all around the world. So I want, as a junior company, to be working and partner with them and try to just be better for my next new discovery. So that's a bit the reason why we do not want to do that. And as I said, I have experienced a rollback 10 for 1. I went from having 10 million shares to 1 million share, and I don't want to redo it again. For the people, they've been there for years and years. I know the market is a bit different. Remember back when I've been named CEO of the company, 100 million shares out company was a big, big diluted company. I know that's a little bit different those days. You see a lot of 250 to 300 million shares out, but the general market prefer to have a little bit lower count shares out. So that's a little bit what we drive as well, the strategy as we did.
Well, but you say you talk to your largest shareholder, to your shareholders, and that's not what they want you to do. But looking at going back to the share price, it's kind of going from upper left to lower right, which is not what you wanted to. How do you then, using your strategy, regain or bring back momentum into the stock? How do you make the market excited if you're not going, if you're not aggressively drilling, essentially?
Because I don't think that drilling is the only way to bring the stock up. That's basically it, because I do not really agree with you that just drill, 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 it's going to make a difference. I don't think it's because right now the strategy, for sure, it's a bit a different part of shareholders, but the people now, they see different option. They don't want to have just one company, one drill holes make a difference or something like this. If you are currently a shareholders of Puma, you have different upside potential. You have an upside that Kinross continue to develop the project, bring it to Great Bear situation and take over the company. So if Kinross, with their money, they find a big, big discovery, Puma shareholder will benefit from it. If Canadian Copper find also a big discovery, or they build the Caribou mine as they think, and with a new PEA, then you're lucky as a shareholder of Puma. You already had probably some Canadian Copper. For the new one, that we hold 10% of the company. So that could be something as well. We did the same thing with Raptor. So Raptor Resources, they have gold project in Australia. They acquire a copper project in New Brunswick. So any major discovery by Raptor, currently we hold about 12.5% of Raptor. So if Raptor is successful, that's it. But more than that, we can do the main discovery at McKenzie Gold. So that's the reason why we took the McKenzie Gold to us. We have a GV with 30%, 70%, 70% held by Puma. with a private company. They told us in the past that they won't follow. So the target there is to dilute them up to 10% and then return that to NSR. So break discovery on McKenzie make the difference. So if your shareholders, you do not lean exactly on one drill hole done by Puma, but you have different fold that any good stuff can bring it to the next level. But if you compare Puma to the peers, from 70 cents to 10 cents, let's say 7 cents, if you compare all the other junior, we did all the same. I mean, I would have been really, really sad if only Puma get that kind of market. But if you look other, many, if it's not all of those, went from the highs in the 2021s up to lower. I can see then that the market will shift. I feel it and I seen it a little bit now. But now, that's a reason why we try to package everything that when the market will be really there, we're going to have drill results from the McKenzie, from Williams Brook, and some other play that we're working on now.
Well, just one point on that. If any transaction happens, do you guys have change of control fees, and how are those determined?
To be honest with you, the answer now is no, because for me, the most important is really to be working. And before the deal with Kinross, I was not even thinking that it was potential. But my CFO, my committee said we should have a new contract. But for me, the most important is to be working on site. But right now, there's nothing. There's
Right.
nothing on anything. No.
Right.
Yeah.
How big do you think what you're exploring for has to get in order for it to make sense for Kinross to step in a bigger way? And when I say big, I'm talking about grade as well as volume perspective.
Uh, the deal that we've cut with Kinross was done by what they call the greenfield exploration team. So greenfield is early stage. So I've been asking the company, what is the threshold, what is the trigger to keep investing, and they said we're early stage exploration. So there's nothing really that it's not like if you drill 3 holes that they don't hit, you will walk away from that. It's not the way, because what they see there, and it's a bit what we explained earlier, they see a huge land package. They see about, we have the Lion Gold Zone, the Lynx Gold Zone. As you probably have seen, it's all cat name. So it's all brand new discovery with cat's name because Puma. So we have about 10 new discovery since about the last 5 years. So they see the big picture. They see it as a potential new camp and having a hand on the new camp. So I never seen any resource estimate, but I think, to me, if they don't see the potential of 5, 6, 7 million ounces of gold, it's not the mine for them. They know that we're not there yet, and they do not tell me the entire strategy neither. But my guess feeling about a major company walking into a new camp is because they see a huge potential for more, but also they see different things. It's a paved road. It's about 30 kilometers. We've been looking other play around, and we're not drilling on ice. We're not a remote area. We're back in town every night. It's 30 minutes drive, paved road. You can go to Tim Hortons and your coffee is still hot when you're on site. So, that's drilling 12 months a year. Everything is great for them as well. And to me, I don't know if we're going to talk about the gold price because I don't have big insight about where it's going to go and everything. I'm really happy about the $3,000 gold now. And people said, why at $3,000 gold price, Puma is still trading at 7 cents? But the answer is we're not producing any. But for me, the biggest upside is the gold price at $3,000. My partner, Kinross, are not in the situation to cut costs, to cut the exploration project and different things. I don't know if you've seen it, but they have done about a $500 million net profit or something like this in the first quarter.
Mm.
So they produce about 500,000. It's just wrong number, in my mind. I don't have the final number, but they produce about 500,000 ounces of gold at the cost of about $1,200. So they generate about cash flow of, let's say, $1,800 every ounces. So for them to make a decision to put the next $3 million, to me, maybe I'm totally wrong, it's like pocket change. I mean, if you put $3 million when you generate about $1 billion every year. So the goal price for me is to keep my partner really, really interested. And as now they have to do exploration work, the payment is a private placement, so they are holders of Puma, but there's not no cash payment beside the fees of maybe 150 this year, maybe 200 next year. So for them, it's like having their own project. So there's no risk really because this year is $2 million. Next year is a minimum of three. I bet we're going to know by the end of September because every September, the end of September, that's when we have to call for the next year budget. So we'll know a little bit more by the end of September, October, if they push three. But they are not about one discovery or two discovery or the amount of gold there. But if they want to really evaluate the project, to me, they're going to need about 25 to 50,000 meters of drilling. That will bring the expense of maybe 10 to $15 million already. So I think for them, the biggest question will be at the end of the option, we have invested $16.5 million, what we're doing next. So that's a little bit where I'm standing. But they just started. So,
And I know it's early days on the project, but how big do you think it could get? Like, what's the size of your exploration target essentially? What would you be happy with?
oh, I'm looking the same amount of gold than them because it's all based on the other project around. If you're talking about, other plays around, there's been the Marathon Gold deposit in Newfoundland that has been acquired by, Caliber. They have about 5 million ounces of gold. The Hale gold mine in the same rock, same age, Appalachian rock in USA has about 4 or 5 million ounces of gold. The Dalarian gold mine in the same rock, but in Ireland, because all the continent was all attached before. So it's another 5 million ounces of gold. So basically 5 to 7 million ounces of gold. That's what I think is there. So to bring that estimate to be proven, that's a lot of investment. That's the reason why we have decided to do business with a major gold company that they don't have always to run for money and to make decision on where to do the target and where to go. But as I said, it's really early stage because since 2000, the first work done was 2008. The only work done with us was about $12 million investment. So we're talking about still an early stage project. Even if we have really nice discovery at the Langs Gold Zone, what we don't know, say how many Langs is there and how deep Langs goes and how big Langs can be. But maybe we're not working on the best one. Maybe we're working on something that has been found first, but doesn't mean that it's the biggest high-grade zone into the project. And working with Kinross, they know that. And I think the goal of it is to keep doing a little bit of work below lines because it's a beauty for them. They have already a deposit there. There's already a structural feature to be drilled, high-grade gold there. But also, you have a huge land package that once we're going to really understand the way the length has been set up, then how to look and search for the other area and over the entire 40,000 hectare. That's a huge land package, all crossed by a paved road. So, we can work 12 months a year. It's really a beauty there.
Let's talk more specifically about this year's drill program in that case. You've committed to 5,000 meters of drilling across Williams Brook as a whole. Where is that drilling going to be specifically? What targets do you go to? I know you touched upon links, but how do you want to spread that meterage?
First, I want to mention that, when we're working with Kinross, the way it's working, it's a technical committee. So we are the operator of the project, but just for the people that they don't really know how it's working. So the way it is, every year, Kinross mentioned, okay, we have a $3 million budget. Let's say next year is $3 million budget. Puma, a VP Exploration, propose a work program for $3 million, and then the technical committee agrees on it. So basically, it's not just Puma. I mean, we do the work on site, we propose the work, but that work has been planned and discussed and strategized by us and Kinross. So we want to have their input as well. So this is the way we're working. We know a bit more what they want to do specific work on one area, or they want to do the entire camp. That's the reason why when I told you, we believe that they want to see the big picture because they do not want to just work on the length gold zone, but they want to find any more length zone like this. So basically the 5,000 meters, the first 3,500 will be done at length. So that's for sure. The direct target, we don't know yet because we're going to know about next week. We have another technical committee because they have redone the 3D models with their expert. They've put their own insight about the structural geologist. So we'll have a new 3D models to drill and test. So I cannot tell you where, but there's for sure 3,500 meters drill at length right now in June. So June will be the beginning of that first drilling program. So we'll know more. Once we're going to be starting the drilling, I will be able to share exactly where the drilling will be. So I bet they will want to drill underneath, see a little bit the depth extent. Or they want to go to 500 meters, 800 meters, or three, or I don't know yet. But I know there's 3,500 meters at length. Why? Right now, because they want to get the assays back by the summertime. Because if we have to make a decision by September to see the budget next year, we need to have already some result in them. So, let's say we drill at the end of June, July, August, we get all the numbers. So those numbers will back, a little bit the budget for next year. But the 1,500 left is not known yet because the beauty of Puma is we manage on the discovery base. Right now, the biggest thing during the summer is 95 days of trenching. So there's continuously 3 months of trenching, which we never did that in the past. But the length gold zone was discovered before drilling by trenching. So now we have 3 months that there's a backhoe and excavators, a team on site that they trench everywhere else. The Lion Gold Zone, the Cheetah Gold Zone, trying to bring any other gold zone similar to the lengths. So the 1,500 drilling done will be in the fall. Is going to be at lengths because we want to follow up on drill, maybe, but also Kinross and the technical team believe that we should wait and see maybe to drill the Lion according to the discovery. So as last week, there's a team on site, they bring new grab sample, they have sample, they discover veins, they do the same thing as we did at lengths. And let's say, I don't know the date, but maybe September, we'll know, okay, 1,500 will be re-drilled there. But in September, they might say, no, we do 10,000 meters more because we want to already accelerate the work. So every time for me, I know that Christmas is 25 December. For me, will be the end of September. That will be the time then Kinross say, we're good, but it's not 3 million, it's 5. Or yes, we do the 3 or whatever it is. But in September, that the end of September, October is the time that we're going to have the decision about themselves, how much money and where we do suggest where we do the work.
So you don't necessarily know how deep this drill program is going to be, or exactly like if they're re-drilling some of the historical holes or stuff like that.
No, I don't believe they re-drill any holes because there's plenty of room that to drill. They want to know probably. I bet that, to be honest, I don't know. No, the answer is no. I don't know exactly where. But as I said, we have a month ahead of us, and we have a meeting next week to see the new 3D model. So I don't know what they would like, but I bet that what they want to test, if their 3D models a little bit different than what was done prior, they might try to test their idea and maybe drill some what we call us Puma is the jewelry box. Where's the big gold zone? We might not have the same strategy, us and Puma. I believe that they would like to see more continuity, see the size, and understand more the deposit. But it's, as I said, it's too early. But as soon as we're going to get the news out that the drill is on site, then we're going to have the best target and say to the share our vision about where's the drilling. But right now, I'm not even lying to you. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's the technical team pair with Kinross that they be able to tell us a bit more. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you're not lying to me. You'd be surprised how often that happens in
I'm
these
joking, yeah.
conversations. But
Yeah,
what's
but sometimes, I could not, maybe was not lying, but maybe Ken Ross would say, don't say a word to where we're drilling because
sure.
it might be part of their strategy either. But, I don't know. Yeah.
Hmm. That's fair. It is challenging to talk about these things, and I understand your position as well. What's interesting here to me, we want to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of what you're drilling. So some of the geology here is what's interesting is how the gold is hosted within these intercepts. Because, for example, it was hole 139, I believe, that you had.
Yeah.
There was 137 grams over about a half a meter,
Yeah.
60 centimeters, right? So it's very narrow. But as well as that hole was 63 meters off 2.5 grams of gold, right? So how do you deal with that grade variability there? How do you separate the narrow high grade spikes from the broader envelopes, if you will, of mineralization when it comes down to targeting specifically?
The way, to be honest, it's a learning process because when we drilled the first few holes back in 2021, we didn't really know what was the model. We knew where's the vein was, but it's always part of a bigger models, where it's coming from. So when we drilled that at the beginning, we thought that the gold was disseminated inside of the
Mhm.
rhyolite because, as you said, it's really distinct. There's a contact, a rhyolite, which is a volcanic rock, pretty hard rock, and it's within the sedimentary rocks where they are soft rock. And so the mineralization, most of the time in the gold play, the gold is disseminated within the rhyolite. So we did few holes to test that, but basically was really, really at the contact. And we didn't know because after that we looked the newfound gold result, but what we compare is mostly what we see at Sunday Creek. So if you know the company Sunday Creek in Australia, what they have is what we call is different ore shoot. It's stacked vein. So you have the contact and there's a contact, there's a foliation, and that makes some ore shoot there. So those ore shoot is where we have those very, very high grade veins. We get 100 grams and 50 centimeters, 1 meter, or something like this. At the beginning, we didn't know the relationship. Now, as advanced that we are, we know that, let's say, the hole number one, where we drill 5.5 grams over 50 meters, it's not just one big intercept, it's three vein, which could be three ore shoot. But at the beginning, we didn't know. But to put that over 50 meters, we need to have some disseminated gold in it as well, because it's not like just smearing off big intercept and try to extend as much as you can. This is at the idea of having a potential open pit. Then you look where you have those high grain and if there's continuity of mineralization, if it's zero point 0.1 grams or something like this. So we have an issue, it's totally true, about very, very high grade gold, disseminated gold. And if you hit sometime, zero point 0.1 to us is within the zone. Because if you would have drilled 3 meters beside, you could have 10 grams in that same amount. And this is the variability. So the only ways, and you can see it in other company, to avoid that is make more drilling, more drilling, more drilling. So if, let's say, Newfound Gold come up with, let's say 5, 6, 700,000 meters of drilling, it's not just because they want to drill that, because if you want to show the continuity, sometimes you need more drilling. It's totally different as you look high grade gold as we have compared to a base metal project where you have, let's say, 500 meters of 0.5% copper in the same porphyry, or something like Snowline. Snowline is within the porphyry itself, and they have really, really like continuous grade of 1, 2 grams, 4 grams. So that's a little bit different to do the exploration. So for us, we need to do really, really systematic, close space drilling, which is most costly. So that way the deposit was, that's part of the decision to make a partnership or not. Because if it was all continuous and we can drill the 12,000 meters and come up with a resource estimate, would be different. Now we know that we're going to need more drilling to confirm our resources. But
Mhm.
as I said, there's 2 million ounces somewhere at other places with very high grade. But we have to be careful. And we're mostly based, the success of drilling is mostly based on the visual of it. Do you see VG? Do you see the alteration? Do you see the quartz vein? Do you see everything? And then, for sure, if you're lucky, or not lucky, but there's reason why they're so high grade zone, which we start to understand. When we see other like sulfide, like galena, a little bit of chalcopyrite. So it
Yeah.
could be just a zonation within the deposit, but we're so early in that we do not know everything yet.
Hmm. How
It's
much
a
more
learning
drilling
process.
before you do, and how much more drilling do you think it's going to take before you can actually go out there and put an MRE?
As we speak, I won't control that. It will be with my partner. So I think it's totally different now. If we were alone, I think about 25, 30,000 meters, we could have the first resource estimate. I think that Kinross will have their own strategy. I don't think they need a resource estimate that they are not within their target. So, I cannot tell you, I didn't ask how many more meter they would do a 43-101 resource estimate on it. I do not know because they don't have the same goal than Puma could have if I was by myself. But if I was by myself, I would say another 25,000 meters. I could get a maybe first 100 meters deep, from surface.
Yeah.
The target would have been an open pit. Now I think they want to use those information to connect the duct and see where it could be the mother lode. That could be a starting point is the length zone, and then see if it goes deeper. We see that there's a fold there, and that fold can come to Cougar zone. So there's many more information we have to collect. And, within the 95 days of trenching, this is where, because I tell you, we learn 10 times more, even if the market doesn't like it, because they don't see really, the need of doing trenching. But for me, as a geologist, to know where to go is 10 times better with a trenching than a drill hole. Drill hole will do a hole this way. You can drill 25 meters away and you miss. But when you strip 25 meters by 25 meters and you see all the rock, then there's a lot more information to try to save money for the next drilling program.
Right. It seems like Williams Brook will become a clearer case toward or after the summer. So that's maybe when you can be able to talk more about that.
Yeah.
I know you almost have to run here, Marcel. So I want to talk a little bit about McKenzie to a new
Yes.
project. You're budgeting about $650,000 for exploration there. What does that
Yeah.
money buy you? What exactly happens at McKenzie this year?
Yes, right now we're doing, as I said, the compilation. What I mean by that, there's other companies that have been working in the past. There's already some survey. So we save time than what we did at Williams Brook, because Williams Brook, we start from scratch. So we did ourselves the, VTEM survey, Airborne survey, mag, soil, and everything. Now there's some data there that has to be compiled. So during the time, there's a team with Williams Brook. There's a team that they're doing the compilation. We did announcements that we have already a very high grade vein collected at the surface. It's about 100 meters long, up to 600 grams silver, very, very high grade gold. So we need to extend a little bit the stripping. During the summer, let's say June, July, and August, we're going to do the trenching similar to what we've done at Williams Brook in 2021 before the drilling. So, this is exactly, we want to do copy and paste the same work. So doing the trenching during the summertime, and at the fall, doing some drilling to test a little bit as we did in 2021. The first drilling program was about 2,000 meters. We second hole hit 5 grams over 50 meters. I don't say that it's going to happen, but we would like to reproduce that kind of strategy, not drill too fast, but just drill at the right time, because that's the most expensive part. So probably trenching all the summertime, doing a first drilling program of about 2,000 meters into the fall. But beside that, you're going to see some other news that we're working on right now. It should be announced within the next month. But we're going to see more work done on New Brunswick. So for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. You also
And I
note
want
that
to keep you attached with the company. Stay tuned. So we'll have more news.
that's the type of speak that I typically expect in these conversations. Exactly. What is the
Yeah, sorry.
you also note that you have 100 grand of exploration on regional greenfield stuff. So $100,000 separate from the 650 and McKenzie.
Yeah.
What exactly are you doing? What's that 100 grand going to buy you?
We have in hand some other project. we have some project that we've been called by prospector. And when we call other area is we have kind of third priority project. I don't know if you look claim map, but we have a project that we call it the Jacket River. Jacket River is a brand new play. It's all staked by Puma. There's no deal, 100% stake. We have the first 2 years, as I a little bit explained earlier, about the first 2 years, we don't really have so much work to be done. So we're going to send a team there to look and try to apply our low-cost exploration. So prospecting, mapping, and also there's other project in the area. So basically is to spend a bit of money, invest, I would say, invest a bit of money to find the new Williams Brook project, something like this. So that's always in Brunswick. We have different targets in mind, and it's always doing it like as we did for McKenzie before we announced the deal. So we do a bit of due diligence. We send the team, and we're trying to get the new good zone to bring as a play, or to bring it as a play, or to be able to organize a new company and be by themselves. So that's what will be done with that money.
Is all that work permitted in terms of government permitting, but also social permitting, and to be like the community happy with you being there and all that, or how does that look like?
Yes, exactly. It's funny because 20 years ago, it was totally different. 20 years ago, people that they want to invest in different company, it was always about the project itself. Now, when I'm looking and talking with, institutional fund manager or some a little bit more, advanced, investor, they want to know the social license to operate. And we change a little bit, and it's totally understandable, and I'm totally agree with it. So that's why, part of my job is the risk, to manage the risk. And so far, we have about 95% of the claim on Crown land, because New Brunswick is a little bit different than somewhere else. As I said, there's only 1 million people living there. Most of the people are along the coast. So I don't try to select any play in those areas. Even if there's some nice potential, I don't even try to bug people. People really like Puma in New Brunswick. They like what we're doing. We're pretty honest. We try to keep it low profile and make sure that everybody are happy. So part of my decision is to make the property available only on Crown land. So now having people, not private people, landholders, that avoids some trouble and discussion. So basically, this is it. We have MOU with the First Nation because we know well the Papineau Lake and some other First Nation the area. So the best way is to be working on Crown land. I have one people to work with. The government is pretty proactive, as special because we're, I think, the only company that we have a monthly meeting with government, because they saw, the length goes on. You saw it. It's a pretty big stripping area. It's all permitted. It's about 700 meters long by 50 meters long strip area, but everything has been permitted. We have the permit in 35 days. Everything is really, really good. So that's the reason why. Another thing that's the reason we're working on the New Brunswick, because I think this is the best place for the mining rights, the claim, online claims staking, and also permitting is pretty easy and respectful. So basically, Crown land is my best answer on that. Try to keep it there. For sure, if I can see a potential deposit somewhere else, I would do it. I do not close any area, but they have to be really, really good target before doing it.
Just before I let you go here, Marcel, so marketing is a point that I wanted to talk about, and how much more of that you're going to do, because as I noted at the beginning, marketing was about 40% of your administrative spend. So you can almost cut your G&A in half if you got rid of all the marketing. And I know that marketing somewhere is needed, but how do you look at marketing, given that, again, you're not going to be going super aggressively at it? It might take some time before the drilling plan become set in stone, essentially. So how do you think about marketing? How much money do you want to spend on marketing over the coming months?
For me, marketing is really important. We used to do a little bit more, on the overall market. When we raised the money at 50 cents, we had up to $700,000 in marketing. it didn't bring up because you mentioned it. Even if we invest $700,000 in marketing that year, we went from 57 cents to 27 cents.
Mhm.
So it's not a direct link between what you're doing and the return on the investment. So we try to reduce it. And when you're talking about the marketing, there's a part is the salary of Mia Boaridi. She's corporate development. So right now we have an in-house corporate development ER. We're doing some a little bit. So we cut some travel into Europe. So we did, at that year, we did Switzerland, we did Germany, we did France, we did everything without so much return on it. So I'm a little bit shy on investing so much. So right now we have an internal, so it might be cut a little bit as well. And we'll try to be ready when the market will be there. So basically, we have about the followers on Facebook for sure, LinkedIn, those type. I think we have to show a little bit more activities on that. I don't think, we have to be always big promotional. People need to see that we are working. And sometimes it just, a video, people now, they don't look the same as it used to be. 20 seconds, this is a very long interview, which is good. This is the first one. But people used to have 30, 20 seconds when they are on the bus, on doing something else. So we have to have some quick clip that they show that we are progressing in the right direction. So, it's not about, we're always looking what is proposed. So we have, the Investio is a kind of podcasting and a little bit of Facebook, different promotion also. We're going to keep doing it, but I don't want and I don't like and I won't do any marketing. I've been called every week with a company, and now it's good because I don't manage that anymore. I send that to Mia, so she's taking care of it. But okay, pay me $15,000, and I'm gonna generate leads and bid. Those things. I don't think it's working anymore. So I prefer to do some long interview like you, getting the base and get real investor, because what we have to face now is the flipper. People bought at 7 cents, they want to sell at 7.5. To me, it's not the people that I need to attract, and that's I want to have a bit a longer term, investor.
That's in my opinion, that's the right way to looking at it. That to look at it. Although obviously I'm a little bit biased here myself, but okay. So with that said, how much are you targeting for G&A? Again, I came up to about 96,000 something. That was your average G&A over the last reported 9 months on a monthly basis. What are you targeting for G&A?
But I think we would like to reduce it a little bit, but what was a little bit different? We have a new VP exploration, so for sure we're going to have a little bit of cost, but that guy is working on site, so it's not the same thing. So we cut a little bit on marketing, so we're going to have probably 75. That's the target, to reduce it a little bit. The team.
Yep, that makes sense. Again, I know I'm keeping you. It's lunch over there. It just became so. I know I'm keeping you over time than what you
Yeah,
promised
but
me.
my girlfriend will be appreciating. I won't eat, so I might lose some weight.
But that's the spirit. I like it. Talk about junior mining. It's gonna give you stress, and you're gonna lose weight because of that too. So
Hairs,
ties
you
nicely
see,
into it.
the hairs mostly gray hairs now.
What Marcel, we've had a wide ranging conversation, and I understand you're bullish on your own story. I'd be concerned if you weren't. But what keeps you up at night? Nothing's really ever perfect. So, what do you think are the main risks remaining here for Puma?
I To be honest with you, this year I'm pretty calm because I get a lot worse year than now, because now, as I said, with the partner like Kinross, I need to raise a bit less money. I know the work will be done. I have a big support, so which is great. The only thing wakes me up is the 7 cents and a half stock. I said, to me myself, what different I can do, what I've not done right, or this is things that happening. But to me, the only risk is that the people don't hit anything on rock. But lately, I've saw some nice pictures, so I can see that the work will be continuing to find some good good mineralization. So right now during the summertime, I know it's a bit more quiet. I have decided, me and my chairman, Régent Gosselin, to drive around. So, on sunny days, going to Atlantic Moncton, meet the people, meet the investor on a little bit more informal stuff than the usual, make them understand what we are doing. And fingers crossed for me, Kinross will keep putting some money in the ground and keep developing the Williams Brook. But I don't have to be honest, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good those days compared to a few years ago, I would say. Like 19 when we did the rollback without project, with a bit of debt, it's totally different. So now I just want to make sure to apply the discovery model, and I can see just nice upside to me, because you told it. I mean, we had a 57-cent stock, and just with less drilling, we have not done anything wrong. I mean, the drill result was there. We're still hitting gold. So everything is good. So I can just see a return to those level. I don't see big risk to continue going deeper or lower than that.
It'll be good to catch up sometime after the summer when you have some more data, Williams Brook. What else? What did you come here hoping to talk about that I'm failing to bring up? What am I forgetting to ask you?
Oh, no. I think you get pretty good. I feel that we get over everything, and yeah, for sure would be great to catch up on the field result, on potentially new company, and just keep following the story. So no, I think for a barbecue, I'm not the sausage, but I think was pretty good lunch. Yeah.
And this has been Marcel Robillard, of the CEO of Puma Exploration. Marcel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
And as always, thanks to everyone for watching Resource Talks. I have a couple of more things to say, though. The fact that this company was interviewed here today does not mean that they're necessarily a good or a bad company. I'm not here to endorse nor attack anyone. I am simply here to ask some questions. If you find that I have failed in asking a question that you would have liked to hear an answer to, which will happen as I'm not an experienced interviewer, please let me know, and I will try to correct that mistake in a future interview. As mentioned at the beginning, please understand that mineral exploration and development is an extremely risky business. Losing money is the norm and should be the expectation. This is a very complex sector, and the performance of individual companies typically depends on many different moving particles, including company-specific factors like geology, financing ability, and many others, really, as well as particles that are outside of the company's control, like geopolitics, macroeconomics, commodity prices, and many more, most of which are nearly impossible to fully understand. Moreover, these companies that typically get interviewed on Resource Talks are in the pre-revenue stage, which means they rely on the public markets for the financing of their operations, which could result in shareholder dilution. Furthermore, as a general rule of thumb, you'll be better off understanding that all company communications online, albeit this interview or their website and their presentation and their social media accounts, or even the social media accounts which you thought were your friends and then told you about a stock, everything really that these companies do is intended as marketing. And although I do not make buy or sell recommendations because there is a clear conflict of interest given the nature of my business, many out there do. And you should be aware of that inherent bias, and you should be careful out there. That bias is not always going to be clearly disclosed with everyone out there. So it is safer for you, anytime you're watching any type of company-specific content, to approach it with a dose of skepticism and assume that the party telling you about it is biased in at least some shape or form, because there will always be a bias, again, albeit clear or not. So always ask yourself what the incentive of your counterparty is, and never rely on them regardless of their incentives, but instead double check if what they're saying is true, again, by using setterplus.ca. The fact that I have no idea what I'm doing should already be clear to you at this point. I am not saying this to make jokes or laugh with myself. I just simply do not have a long enough track record of consistent investment profits. So I should under no circumstances be considered an authority on anything. Again, although this may sound amusing to you, believe me, it is not amusing, and it is not intended as a joke. I'm simply pointing out a fact and warning you not to rely on anything I do or say. Unfortunately, at least to my understanding, nobody out there has any special abilities. The CEOs do not possess any superior knowledge, and they cannot know about what will go up, what will go down, or what will go in circles. Some people even believe that to be rule number one on Wall Street. Nobody really knows. None of us know whether any of the company's activities will result in a success, again, given that we're talking about high-risk activities where most of the times it ends in failure. Also, unfortunately, try as I may, I won't always catch all red flags or all challenges with the companies. So even if I did ask a few tough questions in here, don't rely on this being all of the tough questions. Again, these are complicated startups with many moving parts, and I am conflicted given the nature of this business. Therefore, I cannot guarantee the quality of anything presented in this video, and you cannot hold me responsible for any losses or damages stemming from the way you decide to use this interview. Viewers, listeners, and readers acknowledge and agree that the information presented herein did not constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell any security or investment or to participate in any trading strategy. Resource Talks and all parties involved in the management of the business strictly disclaim any and all liability for losses and or damages, whether direct, indirect, special, or consequential, or other consequences, however so caused, arising out of any use or reproduction of the content published by Resource Talks or any decision made or action taken in reliance upon it. By consuming this content, all consumers vow to release Resource Talks and all parties involved in the management of the business from all claims, proceedings, or consequences. This is all to say, I know it's a lot of lawyer talk, but this is all to say that you shouldn't blindly trust me or anybody on the internet, and you should do your own research. Once again, social media is meant for entertainment. It is setterplus.ca where you do your research. That's where you'll find the company's official filings, and I encourage you to read and analyze the Management Information Circular, the financial statements, the Management Discussion and Analysis, and whenever available, the NI 43-101 technical documents. If you don't understand everything in those documents, the chances of you losing money are even higher than they normally are in this space. And as mentioned earlier, the chances of even the best analysts in this sector losing money are extremely high, since this is venture capital and it is not for everybody. I'll leave you with one of Charlie Munger's quotes, which I wish I had listened to more often earlier on, which says, quote, "If you don't understand it, don't do it."